now a virologist from Lancaster University in the UK. Your initial thoughts, first of all, about how effective this could be, bearing in mind what Jonas said there about the average success rate.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much for having me on the show. I think this is really important to understand because they use two different dosing regime in the phase 3 trial, and one of them was 90% effective, another one was 60% effective, and then they took the average of that as a 70%, which isn't really practical because you can only use one dosage regime into the patient, into the people. So either it is 90% or 60%. If it is 90%, depending on the dosing regime, it's incredible news. But if it is 60%, then it is not really that impressive because, of course, with all of the possibilities of distribution, storage, cost, all those are advantages. But when it comes to safety and efficacy, there isn't anything to compare with.
Okay, safety is something I do want to talk about. Part of me feels we should be really impressed with the fact that 3 companies now have managed to come up with something inside 10 months. But it's also something that would usually take many more years to come up with. Does that raise safety concerns?
Yeah, well, it does to some extent because, as you said, that we have a normal procedure for any vaccine for approval and the trial is around 15 years, and now everything is squeezed within 1 year. But on the top of it, I think one of the concerns that I, as a researcher, have is that mRNA-based vaccines are not really something that has been tried in human on that scale before. So certainly this is, I mean, the whole trial has been watched only for 2 months. So what we are talking about, the safety and efficacy, is within those 2 months. What happened beyond that, that is something is questionable for the mRNA-based vaccine because this is a new technology. But when it comes to AstraZeneca-based vaccine, adenovirus, these have been used in the field before. For example, registered Ebola vaccine has been onto the adenovirus, and the adenoviruses have been used for many other diseases, including Zika viruses as well. So we have a track record of safety and efficacy around the adenoviruses. So therefore, I think it is more trustworthy to have something technology that has been proven and tested before.
Yeah. We were discussing amongst ourselves a little bit earlier here, actually, about how often you would need some sort of inoculation. I mean, a flu jab, I'm sorry, is often seen as a yearly thing, which you can get. Do you anticipate this is what the coronavirus or the COVID-19 vaccine will be like as well?
Yes, exactly. I mean, we don't really know exactly for how long the immunity would last, but based on our experience we have gained so far about the persistence of the antibodies from a naturally infected person is around 8 months to 9 months, depending on how we look into from the beginning to the time we passed here. But actually, the antibody responses that are raised by the natural infection is different than it is raised by the vaccine. So when vaccine entered into the body, there is a robust immune responses, and the antibody titer would be higher. The level of antibodies would be higher than you get from the natural course of infection. Okay. So I anticipate that at least this immunity induced by the vaccine would last at least for 1 year. But certainly it would still be really a watershedding moment because we never had a vaccine against coronavirus before. So having in this such a short time with very promising result is certainly very encouraging.
So much of what we hear at the moment is not to be complacent. Yes, a vaccine is clearly coming, but obviously we still need to think about masks and we still need to keep up with our social distancing. Let's say we get to a point where a large proportion of people are vaccinated. Will it still be wise then to still be thinking about masks and social distancing after that?
I think this is $1 million question. Nobody asked me before, but this is absolutely something we have to bang on. The thing is that all of the vaccines that are in the front runner, they do protect people from getting the severe form of the infection. For example, if somebody is vaccinated, they might have less severe consequences. But the thing that is important is that they won't stop transmitting the infection. So this means that people who are vaccinated, they have less disease, but they still are shedding the virus. They are spreading the infection within the community. And to be honest, at this moment, transmission has been the major problem than the protection because we have learned so much around the disease. We know how to manage it. As you can, for example, compare to the first wave, now in the second wave, we have 50 to 60% less mortalities because we have managed around that. The problem has been the virus been transmitting so much, therefore the impact has been very high. So until any vaccine that would that would block the transmission of the infection from one person to another person, we should not anticipate that this vaccine would be a magic bullet. And until that, we have to practice all the basic public health principles, masking, spacing, and avoiding indoor places.
Mohammed Munir, your information has been really, really valuable, and I'm also glad I could ask you a question you hadn't been asked before. Mohammed Munir from Lancaster University.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Let's move on to other